My friends, I wanted to record this little video down in the prayer garden before the weather comes in, and I'm just starting to get the first spot of rain on the weather. And I hope you can hear me okay. It's a little bit windy down here, but hopefully it won't be too bad and damage the video recording. Anyway, this is a sort of a new project that we're launching today, which is about something we call the Finding the Joy in Prayer project. It's so easy to see prayer as something we've got to do, something as Christians we're sort of taught we ought to do, and it can be really difficult to perhaps find the joy again in our prayer. But I've come down here in the prayer garden for two reasons. One, because the first week is going to be all about gardens, and the second is because this place is waiting to burst into life. There's the apple trees all around me, lost their leaves and everything like that, but there's also the first wonderful signs that all is not quiet. There's little new shoots and daffodils starting to bud through in the grass, and there's also the beginnings of the primroses coming out, and this faithful old coniferous tree in the background, just reminding us this garden isn't dead, and nor is our prayer lives, but actually it's just waiting to come into being. And that's what this whole project's about, to encourage us to find joy again in our time of prayer with God and our relationship and walk with God. So to the first week, we're going to look at how we can use visual images to help us in our prayer. And I'm found that using visual images over the years has been very helpful. I was introduced to old-fashioned Russian icons when I was at college, and they've always been very helpful to me. And I can understand why many of our churches had pictures on their walls, these old medieval churches before the Reformation. Now, I appreciate that visual images aren't for everyone, but I'm just sharing with you a little idea of how we can use visual images in our prayer life. I brought down with me to the prayer garden a copy. This is where I'm trying to use 2 or 3 hands all at once. Oh, don't try this. A copy of our Vision logo, which we did as fridge magnets. If you haven't got one and you join in with these videos and you would like one, just message in to Kirsty or George in our church office, or Vicky over in our Banwell office, and I'm sure we can get you one. Just let us know. This image, I'll hold it up again. This image has at the centre of it a tree, hence why I've come down to the prayer garden. This tree is full of colour, full of vibrancy, and the leaves are full of colour. And it reminds me of the tree of life down in Genesis chapter 2, right at the beginning of the Adam and Eve story. And although we can have big long debates about what the Adam and Eve story is about and whether it was ever actually literally true, it speaks of a bigger understanding of our human condition. And that is that we chose the wrong tree, my friends. The tree of life. It was the other tree. We chose instead the tree and the fruit of that tree, of the tree of good and evil. And that gave us power to try and decide what we thought was good and what was evil. And therefore the history and the legacy of that, well, it's been a very difficult and dark journey, both for us as human beings and also for our planet and indeed for God. But what about this tree? Well, this tree, for me, I'll hold it up again, speaks also of colour and vibrancy, and you can see many of the words that go around it. These words speak of our values as a church: second chances, love. I'm trying to read back on the on the reflection. Talking, well, I talk a lot. Believing, God's word, all these wonderful things. They all resonate out from this tree of life in Genesis, and they speak of the same colour and the same vibrancy as do the leaves. And so this is something of God's desire for us. And if we look at the very end of the Bible, in Revelation chapter 21, it's virtually the last page of the Bible, it speaks that God's great dream and great plan is that one day this world, believe it or not, will indeed be bathed in colour again, and that light will overcome darkness. There'll be a new heaven and a new earth, and there will indeed be a new Jerusalem as a good thing, and out of which will flow a river called the River of Life, and at the side of that river, on its banks, will be the tree of life again, that tree all the way back in Genesis, and its leaves will be for the healing of the nations. I love that image. It really speaks to my heart, and of a hope of a future yet before us. However, there's a third tree, and this third tree appears not perhaps where we would first think it, but in the Bible it's one of the most prominent trees of all. It's the tree of Calvary, and that tree of Calvary was where Jesus died. How can that tree be full of life and colour, and its leaves be full of wonder and joy? Well, strangely it can, and this perhaps is the great mystery of our Christian faith. It should be that that tree is full of darkness and even of ashen and lead-laden skies. Can't say that word at the minute. The rain is coming. I can see it coming over from the other side of the paddock almost. But as it should be like that, and yet strangely, these wonderful words, and I hold it up one more time, these wonderful words of the belief that we can have a second chance, that real love can overcome the pain and the violence and the suffering of our world, that there can indeed be forgiveness and something that will take us forward in hope. This comes not just from the past, as in from the tree in Genesis, or from the future, but actually from the reality of Calvary and of all that Jesus has done for the world and for you and me. And it's in this, my friends, that what should be a place of no hope becomes the place of new life. That will never cease to stop inspiring me, and indeed I find it a deep mystery, not least within myself, that God believes in me even when I don't believe. He hopes in me when even I've lost hope. He encourages me to keep on loving and to be loved, even when I don't feel that I can be loved. This is one of the great images of prayer that speaks to me, and I'm very grateful for the person who put all that into colour and into reality for us. So I don't know how you see visual images. Some people will love them, some people will find them difficult, but I would just encourage you in this journey of prayer to maybe look beyond what you see and see maybe something deeper. The word for visual image in churchy world is icon, and that icon sadly these days is more attuned to a computer screen than it is to looking around us or indeed within us. But I can only encourage you in your prayer. I'm going to finish up with a song that I'll ask George to post, and that's a song called Waymaker. It was recorded about 8 or 9 years ago now by a Nigerian gospel singer called Sinach, and it's been recorded all over the world by many different artists. It speaks of how God will speak to us and indeed pray within us even when we don't want to pray, how he'll believe in us even when we don't believe in him, or we lose belief in ourselves, and he's there even when we can't see him. And so perhaps these visual images can help us in our prayer to see what has actually been hidden in plain sight, that God is actually here and amongst us and in wanting to love us. So I encourage you in that, and this is the first of the talks. There's going to be about 14 of these over the coming weeks as we go through Lent and Easter and we lead up to Pentecost. So I hope you'll find them an encouragement and a joy as we share this time and season of prayer in our life together. God bless. Bye for now.